Hey y'all, welcome to the Memoirs of a Sinner, a personal growth podcast by Her Kinkz.
I never had an imaginary friend as a child, but as an adult, 34-year-old me for sure has one. Not too long ago, I gained possession of something I was pretty excited about having. It didn't quite look like what I would typically go for, but so many other things about it were feasible, so I convinced myself that I wouldn't judge it based on the outward appearance. Not only was it capable of meeting my needs, but I saw the longevity in it. The first few months of having it were a breeze. Then it started giving me trouble, and I would have to go extended periods without it so that whatever was wrong could be fixed. When I would get it back, it had the same exact problem. It would only be fixed enough for me to utilize it a little while longer. I took it to 3 different specialists to be repaired, and every single one of them would recommend that I just replace it with a new one. If we fast forward a bit, it finally got to the point of a very expensive repair, and I was trying to figure out what my next best move was. I notified the company I had partnered with about all the trouble it was giving me, and we agreed on a deadline for when I had to make a final decision regarding it. In the process, it was completely taken from me. I was a bit shook up about it, but content because a part of me was excited about it no longer causing me the stress it was causing. Then I found out that legally, I was to be compensated for an illegal possession. Had I not been aware of what was already written, they could have gotten over on me. From there, I began negotiating with the proper source regarding how I wanted to be reimbursed for the inconvenience. Not only were they willing to compensate me financially, but return what had been taken from me. By that time, I no longer had an interest in what had been illegally possessed, because I'd be receiving it with the same problem it had been giving me since I had it. In the midst of all this, I received an offer that not only shifted me into a new place, but provided for me financially and gave me a version of what I had lost that was brand spanking new. Not only that, none of it was going to cost me anything. What was in my possession originally, I received used, and when it was illegally taken from me, it came with a short period of grief. But awesome, it came with God doing exceedingly abundantly more than I could ask or imagine. Every resource I needed for this new venture was provided for me. All I had to do was be where I needed to be, doing what I needed to do, and I could expect nothing less than having every need being met. Not only was I financially compensated from who illegally possessed what they shouldn't have taken, but along the way on this new and exciting path, for everything I did, every move I made, a direct deposit was issued to my account of way more than I needed to have every single thing I wanted. What had the potential to completely bankrupt me became my greatest blessing. I now have things that I've always aspired to have, but never even knew how I would go about obtaining it. All of it was handed to me. I was right where God told me to be, doing what God told me to do, taking what I thought was a major hit, but God had a plan that went far beyond what I could have imagined. Now, I didn't just go from something being snatched from me and being blessed immediately afterwards. There was a period where I was conflicted and wrestling with God. A short period, but a period nonetheless. Satan would play with my head, making me think that God had left me hanging. I had to push past what the enemy was speaking and remember what God wrote. I had to be reminded by the Holy Spirit that this was not an opportunity to get discouraged and stop having faith. Shout out to my invisible friend, because in the process of being encouraged spiritually, I did a devotional called "Who Does God Say That You Are?" that helped to further confirm what was written. In John chapter 15, verse 15, it tells us that we are friends of God. Therefore, we are not alone. Not only is Jesus with us, but he has our back. Right before Jesus did his first miracle, Satan came and tempted him greatly. The very thing it was already written for Jesus to have, something worldly was trying to offer him a counterfeit version so he would be outside of the will of God. Because Jesus spent intentional time with God in a human body being built up and finding out not only who he was, but his purpose and what God the Father had promised him, when somebody or something outside of his Father started sending him offers, he knew to reject it because something greater was coming. He just hadn't possessed it in the physical. Satan knew when Jesus had came out of that wilderness, he would perform his first miracle, and people would begin to see and believe who God said he was. It would be the beginning of people shifting from darkness into the light, and the enemy would be losing his power. The process of experiencing loss never feels good, and I don't wish it on anybody. But when we rest in the fact that we have a friend that sticks closer than a brother, who knows everything and has never lost a battle, we can be built up for what's to come, since that friend is also resourceful. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 7 says, "For we live by believing and not by seeing." We have faith in a God we can't see, and in words he has given us that we absolutely have no idea of how they're going to come into fruition. We have invisible faith. Hope that is seen isn't hope. I read recently that as adults we have a hard time remembering how effective having an imagination can be, because as children we are often shamed for our imagination. By having invisible faith and putting our trust in the Holy Spirit, what looks delusional to the world is backed with evidence. Invisible friends are for grown folks with one heck of an imagination too. I love you all in real life.
If you'd like to stay connected, you can follow me on Instagram at the Insta About Her, TheinstaAboutHer, and make sure you subscribe and leave a review.